The Macallan 12-year-old costs £70 a bottle and is fantastic whiskey. But what if I told you that there were better options for less than half the price? You probably wouldn't be too surprised because you'd probably be thinking I'd saying Abuna or Tamdhu 12 or 15-year-olds. Well, we've got 4 whiskies here picked by experts, and the people in front of you here are definitely not experts. We love whiskey. Phil is from Whisky Wednesday.
Hello everyone, how you doing?
So if you want to go and watch whiskey reviews, Whisky Wednesday is his channel, and I'm Mark Littler, and this is the Mark Littler channel. So this article, this video that we're doing, I write for Forbes, and this video started out as a Forbes article, and we thought, why not? Phil's in the office today.
Let's turn it into a video.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And like the Macallan 12-year-old, like it's bloody good whiskey, but it's pretty expensive. 70 quid a bottle, it's pushing it for most people, especially when we look at the first pick, and we could probably just end the video here, but we've got to say something. This pick was from Tom Macallan from Whisky Auctioneer. Now, let's see if Whisky Auctioneer can sort their website out by the time this video comes out, because they've had a rebrand and it's
getting there.
Beautiful brand, but functionally, oh man alive, what's happened with that? But anyway, we might do a whole video on that because it's annoying me a lot. But anyway, Tom's pick, he can drop the mic and walk away. GlenAllachie 12-year-old.
I mean, what would you say, really? You look at any whiskey review list, any whiskey reviewer, you would be hard pressed to find someone that didn't offer this as a great alternative to a Macallan 12 or just a great whiskey in general. Distillery taken over by Billy Walker in 2017. Re-racked a lot of the stock. So it started in bourbon and then he's moved it to sherry, different types of sherry. Some virgin oak influences are in there too, because he loves virgin oak. And he's just transformed it into this kind of behemoth of a little distillery, you know.
Wow.
No more words need be said.
And that's the thing, like with what Billy's done there, like this isn't his whiskey. He only joined in 2017. But again, with all this re-racking that's gone on, he understands 2 things, I think, Billy. 1, marketing, you know, he's the king of marketing these whiskies. And 2, that it's not necessarily about maturation time in terms of the finishing can do so much. I was at the Spirit Speyside Festival, I think 2-3 years ago, and they had like a triple, I might even have it somewhere in the office, but it was like a finished in 3 casks.
Oh.
But anyway, it's still bizarrely called a single cask, but I'll try and dig that out and I'll stick it in the comments. But all this finishing does something wonderful to the whiskey. And how many awards has this whiskey won?
Countless. You'd be here for a long time just trying to count the gold medals and the other ones it's won, as anything that Billy Walker does, because he is the King Midas of sherry. But yeah, it's just got everything. It really does. For
£47 as well. Literally, if you like Macallan, go and buy a bottle of GlenAllachie 12-year-old if you haven't already, and you won't be disappointed. And again, if you're feeling a bit flushy, what have we got here? We've got the GlenAllachie.
It's a 38-year-old.
38-year-old. We do have the original box, but it's an old malt cask one. Yeah. So they're just horrible.
And yeah, they're not great. I was hoping that was the one part Hunter Lang would sort of upgrade with their bottles, but this is actually a Douglas Lang bottling, so it's pre when they sort of split into 2 companies.
So single sherry, but 38-year-old.
Look at that.
And what have we got on? 786 quid, free worldwide shipping. That is phenomenal. If you want to treat yourself to an amazing whiskey. But again, if you compare that value for money wise, what would 700, 800 quid get you at Macallan? 2 18-year-olds nowadays.
The new Art of the Flower release.
New Art of the Flower, no age statement, or a 38-year-old GlenAllachie. Yeah. Now, the next one, like universal claim for GlenAllachie. Now, this is where me and Phil, I think, are going to divide a little bit on here. So this was picked by Zvi Wiesel, or Todd, as most people will probably know him. He's from Baxis in New York, and they got a great whiskey exchange platform going on there. Yeah. He's picked Glenfarclas 15-year-old. And before you say it, I love Glenfarclas. I love the distillery. I've been there and had some great visits, and it's just a very homely sort of feeling distillery. It's great whiskey to 15-year-old, but I do get that not everybody massively likes it. And why is that?
I think you just can't. As a distillery and as a brand, whatever you decide to call yourself, you just can't win everyone over. So unfortunately, Glenfarclas has never really ticked my boxes. I've tried 3 in my life. 2 of them were independents and 1 was an exclusive for a company I used to work for, the Whiskey Shop. So I bought those 3 because they were really nice. But the other ones, I've always found them either like a bit too flat here, a bit too flat there, something like that. I will say for the 15, it's an incredibly consistent bottle of whiskey. When I have tried it, it has been my favorite in the range. But as far as the rest of the range goes, it's never really been much for me, unfortunately.
Well, we're going to have to change that, and we'll get these. So these reviews will end up going on the Whisky Wash. So if you watch the Whisky Wash, there's a treat for you, folks. So these are the 8-year-olds. So these are 9. There you go. There's.
Thank you.
This is from when it was Grant Bonding Company Limited. So these are absolutely phenomenal knockout whiskies. Yeah, there's a heck of a bit of OBE in here, but.
Oh. No, it does smell particularly lovely. That smells more like orange wine. It does whiskey.
Wow. Yeah. Oh, and that smells amazing as well.
Yeah, that smells pretty good. I can't fault that. When are these from? Like what, 60s? 50s?
Late 60s.
Late 60s?
Yeah.
You won't be able to see it on the camera, but the amount of sediment that's in those is remarkable.
But there you go. You can win it. And then again, like we did a video recently about whiskies to try if you like Johnny Walker Black. And Johnny Walker Black from the 1960s was our ultimate pick. And these older bottles, like this isn't particularly expensive at auction, these early original bottlings. So go out and grab some of these if you're feeling flush at auction. If not, get the 15-year-old, 70 quid a bottle or something like that.
£70, yeah.
Now, again, we're saying hello to another YouTuber on this one, Phil Gow, who's better known as First Fill Whiskey. Right, Phil? He picked the one that nobody can ever pronounce correctly. It's not GlenAllachie.
It's not GlenAllachie or Bruichladdich or Auchentoshan or...
It's Glengarioch. You can just call it Garioch. But Phil's picked the Garioch 12-year-old. Now this one here is a bit more sensational. What's that?
This is a 29-year-old single barrel from 1968.
Original distillery bottling as well.
Yeah, 56.6%. Will set you back what, £2,140? And I will say, from one Phil to another, I'm also a massive Glengarioch fan and a fan of your channel, Phil. So nice to see if you're watching this. But if you've tried Glengarioch, you just know it just has this magic stuff to it. I can't really put into words what Glengarioch is like. It's still an underrated product owned by a massive company.
And they've just spent a load on the distillery, and I think it's one of these brands that we're going to see slowly push. It's Beam Suntory, isn't it?
Yeah, still Beam Suntory. Yeah. Pushing
up through the ranks, and literally that their 12-year-old, it's just under £50, I think, in most places in the UK. And it's really, I think it's got a bit more complexity than the Macallan 12, and also it tastes. I don't know. There's just something more to it. It's a bit more three-dimensional.
Yeah, the word more is probably the best word to describe Glengarioch, because it can move in sweet directions, it can go spicy, it can move into these really unusual kind of like Parmesan old leather notes, and that's just the 12-year-old without trying older releases. I think the last bottle I bought of it was £48. That was a couple of years ago, but it just has all these magic little things going on within it. So fair play to those folks at Glengarioch, because it's still a good bit of magic.
And they bottle a bit higher, don't they? It's about 48% that you bottle at.
Across all lines, minimum 48%, which is, the only other distillery that does that is what, Lefroy, with the exception of like the supermarket ones. Everything's 48%.
So you get more whiskey for your money.
Yeah.
Simple. So nice one, Phil. Don't think anyone will argue with that one. Number 4, fourth one on our list here. Now this came from Adam Harding. He's co-founder of a company called Tailored Spirits. They help you like buy and bottle an entire cask of whiskey. So it's kind of like if you want to become your own independent bottler, go and speak to Tailored Spirits. They're great, and he's picked an 18-year-old whiskey that you can pick up for £85. So it does cost a bit more than the Macallan 12-year-old, but the Macallan 18-year-old is what, $375 now, I think, this year, isn't it?
I think so. $350 was the last one I saw, but I can see it going up.
And it's £15 more for 6 years of additional maturation, and that is the Speyburn 18-year-old. So we'll stick it on screen now because we haven't got one here. No. But tell us about Speyburn, Phil.
You know what? Speyburn is one of those distilleries I don't actually know that much about. I feel that with Speyburn, it's owned by the same company that owns Old Pulteney, Annock, a few other people. And it's, even though a lot more focus is being put on the 15 and the 18-year-old now, it's one of those distilleries that just doesn't sit in any sort of limelight. It's always been owned by companies that own bigger things. I think at one point it was owned by Diageo. I think it was in the Flora and Fauna series a long time ago.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out where it was, but it's one of these distilleries. It's whenever you ask anybody about it, it's bright purple boxes, aren't they, nowadays as well?
The 15's like a green sort of bluey box. The 18 is like reddish, kind kind of like a rouge sort of colour.
And it's Inverhouse only now, that's it. Yeah. Sorry, Inverhouse, because Inverhouse, if any of you own a cask of Speyside Distillery whiskey, Inverhouse are the company that do all the storage on behalf of Speyside Distillery. And again, Speyside Distillery, one of the distilleries that you could pick up 20, 30 years ago as an investment. And the distillery, Speyside Distillery, is closed. Moved.
The old plant is now closed. It's now officially classed as a ghost distillery, but the company still exists. It's just building a new distillery up the road.
Yeah.
Well, what's a bit of an unusual one now.
And that's it. And it's like this 18-year-old. It has won double gold at like the San Francisco World Spirits Competition. It's just like a sherry bomb all over. I've had a dram of it after a few too many drams of it, and it was very good, but I was quite drammed at that point. Yeah. But again, like, if you want to go a little bit more weird, like, welcome to the channel. And we got this
1971 Connoisseur's Choice Speyburn.
It's banging. 40% ABV are these Connoisseur's Choices. And if you blind tasted people, you would not tell it was 40%. It's really fantastic liquid. And these old Connoisseur Choices, these are the matte label ones. We're having a bloody awful time with this autofocusing.
Yeah, apologies.
So I'm just going to give you a blurry shot. There you go, a nice blurry shot of the label. But these matte labels, Connoisseur's Choices, are really damn good value. You can pick up Port Ellens, you can pick up Ardbegs, you can pick up Speyburns for
300 quid?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Absolutely amazing whiskies. And it's like, if you're braver and want to take the next route onto your whiskey, these Gordon & MacPhail's Connoisseur's Choices are probably one of your best starting points for IB journeys, rather than just going for your pulling something off the shelf. You'll get way better value, and don't be put off that it's 40%. Go and read Whiskey Fund. Pretty much all of the reviews say like, bloody hell, I didn't know there's 40% ABV.
Well, most of them are 4 to 5 stars, to be fair. But, especially when it comes to distilleries that, again, don't get as much limelight as this, because Speyburn's owned by a massive conglomerate, but it has to compete with Balblair, Old Pulteney, Annock, even their blended whiskies. And I think they own Hankey Bannister. I think that's one of theirs. And they own Corun Gin. So there's a lot of spirits kind of masking Speyburn. But yeah, the 18 is, like, I've tried it as well. It's just this chocolatey espresso, wonderful old whiskey. And yeah, £85. You know, I'm thinking back a decade ago when you got most 18-year-olds for sub £100.
Yeah. This
is still pretty unbelievable in the grand scheme of things. So very good pick by Adam, to be fair. That.
Finally, Johnny Fowle at Sotheby's picked the Macallan 12-year-old because it's the GOAT. Like, I would argue that it is the GOAT, and I would argue that we wouldn't be here without Macallan 12, because that was one of the first, or probably was the first, mature aged releases that came out from anybody. I think they started putting the stocks down in 1966 when they started this whole project with Alan Sheark and Co and David Holmes and, you know, Nick Salomon, all of those guys got together. Because of course you can't just decide to start selling a 12-year-old whiskey. You've got to have the stock down for it. And so the story goes, they were selling too much into blends and were too much dependent on blend sales, and the whiskey was too good. So they started putting all this stock aside. And then in the early 1980s, that's when you start to see the likes of these Macallan 12-year-olds coming through. Now, this is on the shop. It's about £600-700 quid with the original box as well. Like, either do two things with this: drink it and have the best, or one of the best Macallan 12-year-olds of your life, because it is completely different and it's full of packs. Packs are right, it's what they used to season sherry casks with until it got banned. But
I always forget about that.
Yeah.
With those old Macallans, it's full of just like fake, not fake sherry, but
they
like,
all were, weren't they? It's all recharged. All the best whiskies in the 1960s, 70s, 80s, it's all packs finished. But I think, like what Johnny was saying, is that it has that mix. And if you take the price aside, if it was 30-40 quid, you would judge it completely differently. You would say it's fantastic whiskey. But when you start pushing the price up to 70 quid, you start to judge it with a different lens, and you start to judge it as if it's
premium.
Well, the price of an 18-year-old Speyburn.
Yeah. I mean, if I spend the extra 15 quid and get the Speyburn, or spend £23 less and get a GlenAllachie, you know, so, and everything else in between, to be honest with you. But yeah, I think with Macallan 12, we can't deny that it's like a foundational product at this point in the modern world of whiskey. So
many of these brands wouldn't even be here today if it wasn't for that Macallan 12. And I think that's what Johnny's sort of saying. It's laid the foundation for everybody. And like, you can obviously go and get a Tamdhu 12 and 15.
Yeah, 50 to £100, something like that.
Spot on. A Boona, no age statement.
100 quid. Yeah.
Fantastic. Like, it's just blended, vatted. Like, it's always good, consistently. But again, that's creeping up now, isn't it?
They're nearly at £100 now, I think, the Aboona sherry casks. Yeah.
They are cask strength, aren't they, though? So
They are, but again, you know, there's a whole other video, an article of cash drinker whiskies that are more affordable than a Buddha.
Yeah, well, there you go.
So that's another thing.
But what do you think, everybody? That's been our second run through with Phil on the channel. What should we do? Should we get more videos like this? You tell us.
See you around.